Welcome to this story, The Boy Who Never Gave Up. This is the story of Alfredo, a poor boy from a small village. He had no money, no skills, and no one to help him. One day, he traveled alone to the big city of London. The road was hard and the city was cold and very strange. But Alfredo never stopped. He never gave up, no matter what. Alfredo lived in a small and quiet village far from the city. His house was old and the roof had many holes in it. His mother worked every day, but there was never enough money. His father had left when Alfredo was only 5 years old. Alfredo always looked at the sky and thought about a better life. He told himself every night, "One day, I will change everything." One morning, a man came to the village on a brown horse. He was well dressed and had a kind and friendly face. He stopped near Alfredo and looked at him for a long time. "Boy, do you want to go to London and learn something great?" he asked. Alfredo's heart beat very fast. He had never heard this before. He looked at his mother, and she nodded her head slowly. Alfredo's mother packed his old bag with 2 shirts and some bread. She held his face in her hands and looked into his eyes. "You are strong, Alfredo, stronger than you think," she said softly. "Work hard, be honest, and never give up, no matter what." Alfredo hugged her tight and felt tears on his face. He picked up his bag and walked away without looking back. The road to London was very long and full of new things before. Alfredo had never seen so many people and carts before. The man on the horse was quiet and did not talk much. Alfredo watched the green fields slowly turn into gray streets. When he first saw London, his mouth opened wide with surprise. The city was loud, big, and nothing like his small village. The man took Alfredo to a street full of small shops and workers. Every shop had a different smell: wood, iron, bread, and fire. Alfredo looked at everything with big and curious eyes. "This is where good men learn how to build their future," the man said. He stopped in front of a small shop with a wooden sign above. The sign said, "Thomas and Sons, Shoemakers of London." An old man came out of the shop and looked at Alfredo carefully. His hands were brown and strong from many years of hard work. "This is Thomas," said the man. "He will teach you everything." Thomas looked at Alfredo's hands and then looked at his eyes. "Can you work hard every day without complaining?" Thomas asked. Alfredo stood straight and said, "Yes, sir, every single day." Alfredo started working in the shop the very next morning. Thomas showed him how to cut leather in a straight line. It was not easy. Alfredo's first 3 pieces were all wrong. Thomas did not shout. He just showed Alfredo again very slowly. "Good hands come from many mistakes," Thomas said with a smile. Alfredo held the knife again and tried one more time with focus. Alfredo slept in a small room above the shop every night. The room had 1 bed, 1 candle, and 1 small window. He looked out at the London sky and thought of his mother. He missed her voice, her bread, and the quiet of the village. But he also felt something new, a fire burning inside him. He closed his eyes and told himself, "I will not give up." 2 weeks later, Alfredo made his first complete shoe alone. It was not perfect. One side was higher than the other. Tomas picked it up and turned it slowly in his old hands. He looked at Alfredo and said nothing for a very long time. Then he placed it on the shelf next to the other shoes. "It stays here," Tomas said, "so you remember where you started." One rainy evening, a boy came running into the shop fast. He was wet, thin, and his shoes were completely broken apart. "Please, sir, I have no money, but my feet are very cold," he said. Thomas looked at the boy and then looked at Alfredo quietly. Alfredo understood. He took some leather and started working fast. In 1 hour, Alfredo gave the boy a pair of warm new shoes. The boy's name was Sam, small, funny, and always full of energy. He had no family and lived alone in the streets of London. Thomas let Sam stay and help clean the shop every morning. Sam and Alfredo became fast friends from the very first day. Sam knew every street, every market, and every secret of London. "I will show you this city," Sam said with a big smile. One afternoon, Sam took Alfredo to the big market near the river. There were hundreds of people buying and selling everything. Alfredo watched a man selling shoes for a very high price. The shoes were simple. Alfredo knew he could make better ones. "One day I will sell my shoes right here," Alfredo told Sam. Sam laughed loudly and said, "Then we better work faster." 3 months passed, and Alfredo was getting much better every day. His hands were now strong, fast, and very sure of themselves. Thomas gave him harder work and trusted him with the best leather. But one morning, Alfredo arrived and found the shop door closed. A paper on the door said, "Thomas is very sick. Shop is closed." Alfredo stood in the cold street and felt very worried inside. Alfredo knocked on the back door, and a woman opened it slowly. She was Thomas's daughter. Her name was Mary, and she looked tired. "Father cannot work. The doctor says he needs complete rest," she said. Alfredo looked at the empty shop and made a decision very quickly. "I will keep the shop open," Alfredo said with a calm and firm voice. Mary looked at him carefully and then opened the door wide. Alfredo worked alone in the shop from early morning till late night. Sam helped him carry materials and talk to the customers outside. Some customers doubted Alfredo because he was young and from the village. But when they saw his work, they stopped talking and just nodded. Every shoe Alfredo made was strong, clean, and made with real care. Word began to spread slowly through the streets of London. One evening, a tall man in a fine coat entered the shop quietly. He looked around and picked up one of Alfredo's shoes carefully. He turned it over and examined every stitch with sharp eyes. "Who made this?" the man asked in a serious and deep voice. "I did, sir," said Alfredo, standing up straight without fear. The man nodded slowly and said, "I want 12 pairs by Friday." Alfredo and Sam worked for 3 days and 3 nights without stopping. They drank tea, told stories, and kept their hands moving always. On Friday morning, 12 pairs of perfect shoes were ready. The tall man came, checked every pair, and smiled for the first time. He paid Alfredo well and said, "I will come back next month for more." Alfredo held the money and felt something he had never felt before.
Thomas got better slowly and came back to the shop one morning. He walked in and stopped. The shop was clean and full of new orders. He looked at the shelf and saw many new shoes, all made with care. He picked up one shoe and recognized the work immediately. "You kept everything going," Thomas said with a quiet and proud voice. Alfredo smiled and said, "You taught me well, sir. I just remembered." That evening, Thomas sat with Alfredo and spoke to him very seriously. "You are ready, Alfredo, ready to open your own shop one day." Alfredo looked at his hands, the same hands that had made so many mistakes. "I want to write to my mother first," Alfredo said with soft eyes. He wrote her a long letter and told her everything that had happened. He told her, "Your words kept me going every single hard day." 1 year after leaving his village, Alfredo stood on a busy London street. Above a small shop was a new wooden sign. "Alfredo's Shoes, London." Sam stood beside him, laughing and shaking from excitement and cold. Thomas was there too, old, tired, but smiling with his whole face. Alfredo thought of his mother, the village, the long road, and every hard moment. He had come with nothing and built everything with his own 2 hands. The end. The Boy Who Never Gave Up. 20 Scenes, Beginner English.